𝐒𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥 悪魔ルシェリア。
Nobody's way up to Exploration Episode 2, and at this point, yo, bro is so fed up with these summons. By the way, the fact that he gets a summon in Episode 2 is freaking amazing, and the fact that it ends up being a devil character, also freaking amazing as well. Like, I think that is, like, really cool stuff. Like, the fact that he basically got a god in one, and then now he gets a devil in the second, like, that is some sick stuff. But the fact that he's, like, he knows what to do this time. He summons the character, he's like, take me away. He's ready. He's waiting for this to be like a, you know, big old double diddy, you know, summon, and ends up being a little girl again. He's like, God damn it. It's so good. Okay. Here's the thing. Episode 2, just as fire as Episode 1. During my Episode 1 review, though, there was some things that I did omit as far as, like, negatives or, like, nitpicks that I did want to mention here. A couple of the nitpicks is the show hasn't clearly, and I don't know if it will, but it hasn't clearly explained kind of, like, how the power gap or how the power efficiency or power absorption really works in this world. What I mean by that is that's a terrible way for me to even ignore those words. The show hasn't explained if people's powers are only in the dungeon. But if they are, then it makes no sense, because he can clearly take a potion outside of the dungeon to heal himself outside of the dungeon. So it's like, if you can summon a fireball in the dungeon, you can very well summon a fireball outside of the dungeon. So then that leads me into the second thing. For the summons, why is it that you can only summon in the dungeon? Does that mean that they're also an entity to where they're not really have like a physical being? Like, they have a physical being, but like when he stabs the goblet, it doesn't bleed. It just kind of like dissipates into like video game polygons. So does that mean that his summons would do the same, and they would just return to his card and then he would just summon them again? Again, all these things remain to be answered. But the main thing is, like, where do their powers stem from? Because it makes no sense that you could go in and be ultra powerful and have super strength in the dungeon, but then you couldn't have it outside the dungeon. It's like, okay, where does that end and begin? They haven't really clearly covered that whatsoever. The other thing is, in Episode 1, he gets the summon, you know, the gold summon card, very rare, whatever, and he says to us, like, oh, I can sell it for 1 billion yen, but if I decide not to, which he didn't, he's like, I'm going to summon it in the dungeon. Once I summon it, though, that's it. It can't be sold anymore. But then the reason to that is why? Because my first thought was like, oh, once it's out of the card, it's out of the card forever kind of thing. But then they told us, no, it goes back into the card and then it can be resummoned. So if it goes back into the card, that tells me, like, can't the card just simply be sold and given to somebody else and then they can summon? Or is it that once you summon, you basically use that summon and it's attached to you, like, spiritually, how Sylphie has said, like, oh, my heart is, you know, only for you, or like my being is only for you. So that tells me, like, oh, okay, well, maybe the summon, once it's summoned, it's like attached, or like it's like imprinted on you, like a mark or something, to where it's like only you could summon it. Ew, I just choked on my spit. Hey, don't get too excited, okay? But like, is it one of the things to where it's like, even if you sold the card, nobody else could summon it anyways? Again, just lots of holes, and it's okay to be curious. I think this early on, it's okay to have these holes. I just hope that the show fills them as the show goes on. Now, regardless, this episode, though, I thought was really cool. You know, our boy Kaito ends up going into the second level, ends up leveling himself up to level 10, and then begins to get smart. He goes into farm on level 1, because Sylphie obviously has an exchange. She needs to, every time she uses her power, she basically needs to eat something. He ends up coming across later on, so he does a lot of farming, so good for him. He does farming in case he needs to buy a potion, and he does farming in case that he needs to be able to feed Sylphie. She goes and she destroys a red monster. He can feed her a slime crystal as opposed to getting the rare monster, which leads me into my other point, is he destroyed a really rare monster where that drop item could have netted him around 2 million yen, or around $10,000-$12,000 in US money. So he could have gotten a big payday from that one monster, but he decided to feed it to Sylphie instead. Then it leads me to the second thing. If she eats more rare stuff, does that mean she gets leveled up too? Or is her limitation alongside Kaito? Again, these things haven't been answered, but I hope that they will be. And then the very last curiosity point that I have is him and his neighbor girl, the romantic neighbor girl. He obviously is very fearful of telling her that he's entering the dungeon. It hasn't been covered yet, but my guess is in episode 1, it was covered that her dad was one of the police officers, government people that was investigating the dungeons. My guess would be that her dad probably got severely injured in the dungeon, and he's probably home now. He probably doesn't work anymore or something. So she probably has that fear imprinted on her. So that's probably why he's fearful to bring up that he's going to the dungeon, because she doesn't want him to be like his dad, because she obviously cares for him a lot. So that's my guess. That's me putting on my I've watched too much anime cap. That's what I'm guessing. But it remains to be seen on why he keeps kind of pussyfooting around her every time he comes to talking about the dungeon or whatever. And it could just very much be that, you know, he got injured the first time with that goblin and she just scolded him and doesn't want to get scolded again by his future wife, you know. So regardless, episode 2, really, really great. We summoned a devil. Can't wait to see more of the devil now. Really cute character, by the way. Can't wait to see more of Sylphie. Can't wait to see more of, like, can these things come out of the dungeon? Can't wait to see him level up and take on level 3. Can't wait to see more. But this show, really, I'm having a really great time watching it. I think that's the most important piece here is chef's kiss, really good stuff. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Interested to see all you guys' thoughts and feelings now that we're 2 episodes into the anime. I'll see you for more, and I'll see you for episode 3. Assuming these 2 videos that I put out today do really well, episode 1 and 2 review. If they do poo-poo, I'm not going to see you for this anime at all. But if they do pretty good, I'll see you guys for episode 3. All right. Have a good weekend. Peace.